Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we are trying to discuss about the important method which are available under this particular list interface here. Okay, so what are the methods we discussed up to here? So now yesterday we discussed about the up to retain all method. Now what exactly the retain all method is doing? It is trying to matching the records. So whatever the records are matched here, so those records are keeping, and unmatched records are now removed from this particular array list here. Okay, so up to this we discuss here. Now if you go to here, after this particular retain all, we are having a clear method. So what exactly the clear method is doing here? Okay, what exactly the clear method is doing? Now to understand this particular clear method, now what we will do here, after this particular retain all, or before going to call this particular retain all, comment out the retain all array list dot clear. Okay, array list dot clear. Now I'm calling this particular clear method so that what happens internally, now it will try to clear all the object from this particular array list. So whatever the elements we are having under this particular array list, all the elements are going to be removed here. Now you can see, now I stopped at clear method. Now here you can see, so this is the mod count. For each and every method we are increasing this particular mod count here. Now after this element data. Now what is the element data we are having? 0 to 5. Something like 6 records we are having. Now these 6 records we are going to insert as a null here. Now here you can see, here we are having into 2 is equals to size. Okay, what is the current size we are having? 6 here. Now 2 value we are making as a 6 here. Now another important section, I is equals to size is equals to 0 here. Now finally the I value, what I'm doing is I'm trying to initialize with this particular size. Now every day every time I'm trying to increase with this particular I less than to this particular two variable. Now if you see, what is a 2 value 6 and I value 0, and now what we can identify basically, if you observe carefully, so into 2 is equals to size, and I value we are initializing as a 0, and later we are comparing with this particular I less than to 2. So something like here this particular loop is going to repeat like this. So 0 less than 6 and 1 less than 6, 2 less than 6 and 3 less than 6. Now here 4 less than 6 and 5 less than 6. Now whenever we reach to 6 less than 6, now what happens internally? So this condition is going to be fail. Okay. Now, so here this is the way these particular loops are going to be repeated here. Now 0 to 5. 0 to 5 is nothing but 6 times this loop is going to be repeated. Now whenever the I value is reached to 6 here, 6 less than 6. Now what happens internally? What happens internally? So it will come out of this particular loop here. Now once it is come out of this particular loop, now what happens internally? So all the values we are making as a null here. Okay. Now if you see here, now what we are doing explicitly, this is the first time the particular condition is satisfied. Now second time the same loop is going to be repeated. Now third time also the same loop is going to be repeated. Now if you observe this particular ES, now 2 to 2, 3, 4, 5 we are having. Now 0, 1, 2 already we made as a null values. All values we made as a null here. Now currently I value 2. The 4, 5, 6 also now we are making as a null here. Okay. Now here you can see I value 3. Now I value 4. Now if you see this, so 4 and 5 we are having. but before all the values, now we made as a before and the before 4 and 5, whatever the indexes we have, so all the values we made as a null here. Now here you can see the last iteration section here, all the ES, currently no values. All the elements we made as a null. Now whenever you are making null, so those values are not going to be printed here. Those values not going to be printed here. So this is what we need to understand regarding this particular clear method. So exactly what exactly this particular clear method is doing here. Now we have a for loop here. So under this particular for loop, for example, int I is equals to 0 and I less than size here and I plus plus. So this is the loop we are having. Now internally what I am doing here, ES of I. So what is ES here? Element data. This ES variable, now it is going to hold the element currently whatever the elements we inserted, all the elements here. Now ES of I is equals to null here. Okay. Now how many times this loop is going to be repeated? For each time we are making this particular the proper index value as a null. Okay, the proper index value as a null. So this is what we need to understand regarding this particular clear method. Now once this for loop is executed, now what is the values we are printing? Empty brackets. So why it is printing empty bracket? We don't have a data under this particular array list. So now what you understand regarding this particular clear method? Simply it is trying to remove one by one element from this particular array list here. Okay, so this is what we need to understand. Now equals method. So equals method, how it is implemented. Now to understand this equals method, array list dot equals here. Array list dot equals method. Now what I'm trying to provide here, something like a test I've given. Okay, something like a test I given. Now whenever I given this particular test here, now if I'm going to run the same example in the debug mode, okay, here you can see where we are having this particular equals method. The equals method now it is implemented under this particular array list. Okay, now what you are understanding? The equals and hash code method we already declared in the collection interface. The same method now we implemented under this particular array list class. Now what exactly it is saying is, now here you can see, so O equals to this. Now what exactly this particular O? O is a variable, like a parameter of this particular equals method. Okay, now it is a reference variable of the object type here. Now what we are doing here, whatever the parameter we are passing, the parameter named current object we are checking. So this is something like a current object. Now current object is array list and O is something like a parameter. So now both are different here because here we provided test. Now we are checking with the current object. So current object is something like a array list here. So array list is having currently so 0 to 5, 6 elements here. Now 6 elements are not matched with this particular test here. Okay, first condition is fail. Now what about the second condition? Now if it is O instance of list, basically this is a O instance of list. Now the whatever the O, the object parameter we provided, if it is not a instance of this particular instance of is nothing but if it is the same type of object. Okay, if it is a same type of object, now it will try to return as a true, but currently it is not because currently it is having the different object type, so that it is trying to return as a false. So whenever it is trying to return as a false here, what I'm doing here I'm using the not operator. Whenever I'm using the not operator, it is become true. Okay, it is become true. So this is what we need to understand here. Now finally, what we are doing here, we are trying to return false here. Finally, we are trying to return this particular false here. Now, what you need to understand basically here, whenever we are calling this particular equals method, first we are checking object type. Okay, first we are checking this particular object type, and later what we are checking here, we are checking instance of keyword. If it is not instance of this particular list, now array list, it is trying to return as a false here. Okay, so this is what we need to understand here. Now this is all about this particular array list we discuss here. Now what is another method we are having? Hash code. Array list dot hash code method. Now, so same example I'm trying to rerun. And equals method just now we discuss here. And here we need to discuss about the hash code method. Now I'm trying to debug this particular hash code. Now if you observe carefully, hash code also implemented under this particular array list. So this is the array list class. Now what we are doing here? Now mod count. So what is the mod count? Currently we call the 4 methods under this particular array list here. Okay, so this is something like a expected mod count. Now hash code range. Okay, hash code range. Now what exactly this hash code range is doing here? Now if you see this, element data we are having. Okay, currently how many elements we are having here? 0 to 5. Okay, 0 to 5. So these are the 6 elements we are having. Now after this, what I am doing here? So 2. What is the 2 basically? 2 is a 6. And here, if this particular size, if it is greater than this particular length, but what is the length currently? We are having 20. The ES dot length we are having 20, but size we are having 6. Now, if, for example, if the size is greater than this particular length, now we'll get in this particular exception. But in our case, it is not the greater than value. Now it will go to the next line. Hash code is 1. Now we have a loop here. So based on the loop, now what we are doing is we are trying to load the one object, one by one object we are loading. So in the ES of I, so ES of I is something like 0. In the 0 position, what is the object we loaded? XYZ. Okay, XYZ value we loaded. Now after this, what I am doing is hash code is equals to 31 multiply with this particular hash code. So currently we are having 1. So if you see 31 multiply this particular hash code, so something like 1. And after this, now what I'm doing here I'm checking this particular addition. Here I'm doing this particular addition. So what exactly this addition will do here? Now if this particular object equals to null, we are trying to return as a 0. But otherwise, now it will go to this particular object dot hash code. Okay, object dot hash code. Now here you can see the object dot hash code. What is the value we are getting? 87417. Okay, 87417 we are getting here. So this is what we need to understand here. This is what we need to understand. Now another important section, basically if you want to debug this application, how this particular hash code is implemented here. So this is the proper hash code is going to be written. Okay, this is the proper hash code is returning here. Now currently what is the hash value we are getting? 87417. Now same hash value it is trying to return from here. Okay, this is what we need to understand. Now finally, what is the hash code of this? So 87448. So why we are getting some little bit increase? Because of this particular 31 is also now it is doing the addition. So 31 also now it is doing this particular addition. Now if you see the second hash code, how much we are getting? So it is reached to the 27 lakhs. Now if I am doing the third iteration, it will go a little bit bigger here. Okay, so now you can see fourth value it's going bigger value. Okay, so fifth value, sixth value. Finally, the hash code, what is the hash code we are getting? So this is the minus value we are getting. Now after this, check for this particular modification. So basically expected mod count and current mod count should be same only. In between, so whenever you're calling this particular hash code, in between if you call any another operation, so you will get an exception called concurrent modification here. Because already we are performing one operation here. Now we are trying to perform one more operation here. So because of that, you will get an exception here. Okay, you will get this particular exceptions called concurrent modification exception. But in our case, we are not performing any operation. Simply it is Simply it is a single operation. So because of this, it is not going to throw any exception here. Okay. So we are returning this particular hash value here. So it is having some bigger value here. These are about the hash code related concept here. These are about the hash code. So equals method and hash code method just now we discussed here. Now, what are the additional method? Now, if you see here, split iterator. So split iterator is something like one object it is going to be written here. Now let's observe the how this particular split iterator is going to be provided the information. Now here, whenever I'm calling this particular method, the split iterator method, internally it is going to return the object of this particular split iterator interface here. Okay, now here you can see, so split iterator we are having, I'm calling this particular method. Now here, if you observe carefully, under this particular array list, now we are having one more class. Now we are having one more class here. Now carefully observe, whenever we are discussing about the iterator, internally we are trying to return the new ITR object. Internally, we are trying to return this particular new ITR object here. Okay, so now what we need to understand basically here, you need to understand the important concept to call. You need to understand the important concept to call array list split iterator. So what exactly the array list split iterator is doing now? Now here you can see here only the class is implemented, array list split iterator, and it is implementing from this particular split iterator here. Okay, now what we need to understand here, what are the methods we are having, because it is a interface. Okay, so if array list were immutable, so immutable and mutable, we'll discuss later what exactly the mutable will do and immutable will what exactly it will do. Immutable is nothing but once the object is inserted, we are not going to modify that. So mutable is nothing but we have a scope to modify this particular object here. Okay, so this is what we need to understand here. Now here, this is all about the array list split iterator we are having. Now I'm calling this particular constructor. Whenever I'm calling this particular constructor, so this is the this is the particular, let's see. Okay, it should call this. It should call this particular constructor. Now you can see. So now here it's calling. So expected mod count is 0. Now whatever the parameter we are passing here. Okay, all the values. So 0 and -1 values we are passing. From where we are passing? So this is the constructor we are calling. And here we are having all the values 0 and -1 here. 0 and -1. So this is what we need to understand here. Now here, whenever it is calling this particular constructor, now we are trying to initializing here. But another important section, what you can observe here, once this particular split iterator object we observe. Okay, so once we got this particular split iterator, what exactly it is going to provide here? Let me stop this and I will go to this particular split iterator. Now I will try to assign into the variable. Okay, after this split iterator dot. Now here, what are the methods we are having? So this particular interface is having lot of methods here. Now we need to understand the one by one how this particular split iterator is going to be implemented here. Okay, so this particular split iterator basically it is introduced under the 1.8 onwards here. Now it is going to work similar to the iterator here. Okay, now what exactly we need to understand this particular split iterator. So if I show you, so we need to discuss about this one. Now here, what are the information we are having regarding this particular interface here? Okay, so now basically this split iterator, it is going to sequence of element, like it is going to cycle the sequence of elements here. Now it's like the whatever the way we identified the iterator, same way it is going to provide the sequence of elements here. But here, now what we need to understand here, it will try to provide the more functionality compared to this particular iterator as well as list iterator here. Okay, and here what are the methods we are having. But here the split iterator, it is going. Okay, so it is going to provide the important section called the parallel iteration always. So parallel iteration is nothing but it is going to provide the parallel execution here. Now we need to understand here how this particular parallel execution is going to provide. So to understand this, what we need to understand here we need to discuss about the important concept called parallel stream or normal stream here. Okay. So we'll discuss later the regarding the parallel stream and stream related example here. But now what we need to understand here. So here what you can observe carefully, it is going to behave same like whatever the iterator we discuss here. But additional advantages here, it will work on the parallel streamings. Okay. So in the same method, it is going to be executed by the multiple threads here. The same method, now it is executed by the multiple threads here. So this is what we need to understand here. Now coming back to here, what are the methods we are having? So here you can see try advance. Now here it is expecting this particular action, like it is something like a functional interface. Now if you see this particular consumer is one of the functional interface. Now here you can see it is expecting this particular method called accept as a parameter called type here. Okay, so type it is expecting here. Now, so what are the another method we are having? So this method does not contain any abstract method. Only one abstract method we are having here. Okay, now go back to here. So try advanced method, it is trying to return as a Boolean value, and for each remaining we discussed here. Now internally what exactly this method is doing here it is having do while. Now here it is calling this particular try advance and we are having a action. So this is the method it is going to call internally. Okay, now another method try split. Another method try split. So now here you can see long estimated size. Now get the exact size if you know. Now these are the different methods we are having here. Now what we can do, we need to observe this each and every method how it is implemented under this particular array list here. Okay, because array list is also internally it is using this particular implementation of this particular split iterator. Here we are having array list split iterator concept here. Now here you can see this is the constructor private method we are having. Now here you can see try split. Okay, here we are having this particular try split and this is the try advance here we are having. Now for each remaining we are having here. Okay, now estimated size we are having and characteristics. So these are the different methods are having under this particular split iterator. So we need to observe this particular each and every method how it is going to be implemented internally here. Okay, so basically it is going to have the same behavior like as next and next whatever we discussed in the previous sessions here. Now if we observe carefully how we are going to discuss about this particular split iterator concept here. Okay, now I'm calling this particular array list dot split iterator we are having. Now once we call this, now what I'm doing here I'm trying to print this particular values here. Okay, here you can see I'm having while loop here. Under this particular while loop, now what exactly I'm trying to provide here. Now here split iterator we are having. Now using this particular split iterator, whatever the method we are having, try advance. So try advance basically what is expecting here it is expecting the lambda you can provide or you can go for the functional methods here. Okay, the method reference concept and both are going to be handled internally with help of the functional interface here. Okay, now what I'm doing is, so I'm trying to take as a value here. under this particular value, I'm printing this. Okay, I'm printing this. Now what exactly it is saying here? Now here you can see, so it is saying here, this is the condition here. Because the try advance, what exactly it will do? It will try to return as a true here. So if you go to here, here you can see try advance. Now what is returning? Boolean value. Now what you are observing basically, this particular method, the try advance, it will try to return first record. Okay, so using this particular while, I'm trying to repeat one by one here. Now run this example in the debug mode. Equals method, hash code method. Now we are calling the split iterator. Okay, we are having breakpoint under this. So I'm going out of this. Okay, so after this, I'm printing this particular value here. Here you can see all the values are printed here. Okay, all the values are printed. So this is what we need to understand here. This is what we need to understand here. Now, this is the one important section here. Now, another one is if you are not interested to print this particular value, what we can do? What we can do basically, you can call any methods. Okay, so this is basically the try advance, and for each remaining is expecting the functional interface type, so that you can pass any type of the lambda, or you can go for the method references here. Okay, so this is all about the important section. So same thing, the split iterator basically it will try to implemented in the 1.8 with the all the 1.8 related changes. Up to 1.7 we can use the iterator or list iterator, but this particular split iterator is going to be used from the 1.8 onwards here. It is doing the same behavior. So no need to provide the checking condition, all the information. By default internally, it is going to take care of checking whether the values are having or not. Okay. So this is what we need to understand here. Now these are all about the split iterator we are having. Now what about the another important section called what about this particular important section called stream here, and one more object called parallel stream. Now if you see parallel stream and stream method, so both it is trying to return as a stream objects here. Okay, now we need to understand here how this particular stream and parallel streams are implemented internally. So to understand this, now what I am doing is after this particular loop, array list dot so it is trying to return as a stream object, and one more array list dot parallel stream. Now parallel stream also internally what is doing is it is trying to return the same object. But what is the differences between these two here? Parallel stream and stream. So now, stream and parallel streams are going to be used the same purpose, but here it will give the option like this particular parallel stream, it is going to have advantage. So it will try to work on the multiple threads here. So parallelly, all the threads can execute the same code. So same code is nothing but now we are having 3 threads here. Okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm trying to inserting all the records into this particular array list. So at a time, the 3 threads are going to be inserted this particular data. But whenever we are trying to work on this particular stream, now one by one. Once a thread is completed, it will go for the second one. Second one is completed, third one. Like it is a sequential here. But here, so at a time, all the threads are going to be inserted this type of operations here. Okay. So this is what we need to understand regarding this particular parallel stream here and stream here. Okay. Now coming back to here, coming back to here, now what you need to understand here, if I'm trying to explain this particular internal implementation of this particular stream, now here you can see directly it is calling the collection default method. Okay, so this particular section now internally implemented from the collection. So this is the default method. So this particular stream and parallel stream, as of now, we did not overrided any implementation classes because it is a default method. Still, it is implemented under this particular collection interface only. So what you can identify, support like a stream support dot stream we are having. Now, what exactly this particular stream support dot stream is doing here? Now, internally, now if you observe this particular stream method, what is doing? Internet is calling this particular reference pipeline and providing this particular split iterator. Okay, and after that, it is calling this particular boolean flag. So stream operation flag dot from characters we are passing this particular split iterator here. Okay, so this is the way the stream object, but only the difference is here. Only the difference is what you need to understand here. So stream, whenever you are calling the stream, the parallel stream is false. Whenever you are calling this particular parallel stream, now the parallel is the flag we are having true. Okay, so this is the main difference is the stream and parallel streams we are having. Okay, this is the main differences we are having, stream and parallel stream we are having here. So this is all about the important section about the stream and parallel stream. We'll discuss about the stream concept later because so as of now we need to discuss about this particular collection. So once the collections are completed, we'll discuss about this particular stream related concept here. Because under the stream we are having lot of information we need to discuss here. Okay, so this is what we need to understand here. Okay, now as of now, except this particular stream and parallel stream, any questions? Because we discussed about the each and every method which are available under the collection interface. So still any questions? Okay, so if we don't have anything, now what we can observe carefully, we need to understand the list related methods here. So what are the list related methods we are having here? So let's observe what exactly this particular list related methods we are having here. Remove this collection, support stream, spectator, consumer, and list related. Now, so all the collection interface related method we discuss here. Now, what do we need to discuss here? We need to discuss about the list related. Now, if you see index of and as well as last index of. Okay, index of and last index of whatever the methods we are having, we need to understand here. So what exactly the index of and last index of method we are having internally? Now, if you observe carefully, index of method, what is expecting a object as a parameter. Now, last index of method is also is expecting object as a parameter. But what is the differences between these two here? Now, if you understand this particular differences between these two, what you will understand here? Here, for example, we are having, so these are the array list objects. 0, 1, 2, 3, so 4 and 5 we are having. Now here what I am doing is I am trying to providing 4 and 5. Now here we are having test here. Okay, here also we are having test here, and here also we are having test. Now if you see in the 3 locations we are having test. Okay, in the 3 locations we are having test here. So 0, 2 and 5 here. Now what you can identify basically here, now whenever I'm calling this particular index of, providing this particular test here. Now what it will do, this index of method, it will try to return the first occurrence of this particular object here. So something like what we can observe basically here, 0. Okay, something like 0. Now what about this particular what about this particular last index of method? Last index of method, what exactly it will do? It will try to provide the last occurrence of this particular same object here. Now, whenever I'm trying to discuss about the last index of method, last index of with the same object here, with the same object, it will try to return as a 5 here. Now, why I'm getting the 5 here? Because already it is there. Now it is checking this. Here also in the second index location it is there, and it will try to find out the one more record. And so we are able to identify in the fifth index location. So because of this, now what happens internally? It will try to return the last occurrence of this particular method here. The last occurrence of this particular object, something like a fifth here. So this is the differences between index of as well as last index of here. Index of and last index of here. This is what we need to understand here. This is what we need to understand here. Okay, so now observe the implementation of this particular method, what exactly this particular method is now implemented internally. Okay, so let me go for this particular internal implementation of this particular index of as well as last index of methods here. List dot index of method, and here I'm trying to providing something like a 142. Okay, so something like a 142 I'm trying to providing here. Now whenever I'm trying to providing this particular value, now what you need to understand basically here, let me run in the debug mode. Okay, here, so it is reached to the index of method. Now we need to debug this. Now here you can see index of range. So we already discussed this particular index of range. Now what we are doing basically here, basically we are trying to providing this particular object here, and here we are trying to providing the starting index and the size we are providing. Now whenever we are providing, these are the values here. Okay, whenever we are providing, these are the values. Now what you need to understand basically here, you need to understand the how exactly this index of range is going to be implemented internally here. Okay, let me go for this particular index of range method. Now we are having object to data. Okay, we are having this particular element data, and we are checking if the value, whatever the parameter value we've given as a null. Now what happens internally? It will go for this particular condition, but we did not provide it. These are the values here. Okay, we did not provide it. These are the values here. Now what we need to understand here, so this else block, now it is satisfied here. It is coming to this particular section starting with 0 and end value we are having 6 here. Now this loop is repeating. Now if you see here, we are having a equals method. We are having this particular equals method. It will try to compare one by one object here. Now once object is compared, is nothing but once object is, so condition is satisfied, now it will try to return this particular I. What exactly this particular I is doing? It is trying to do the index while. Now this I playing as a index role here. So this is what we need to understand here. Now you can see, so keep on matching the records here. Whenever the particular record is matched here, so it is returning I value. So what exactly we can identify this I value? It is a index value, something like a 4 we are getting. Something like a 4 we are getting. Okay, so this is the same value. It is going to return by the this particular index of method. Now, if I'm trying to providing last index of here, if I'm trying to providing last index of here, so what exactly the last index of method is going to do here? Array list dot last index of, now same value I'm trying to providing. Okay, now observe carefully, index of and last index of here. This is the index of and this is the last index of. Now what you can observe here, so same method, last index of range. Now here also we'll do the same, but here, okay, let me rerun one more time. So I missed to go for the internal implementation. Okay, last index of and last index of range. Now, so this is the value we want to find out the index location, and here, so zero index location and something like a end index location. Now, what you will understand here, here again we are checking this particular object. If this particular object is null, it will go for this particular loop. Otherwise, it will go for this particular else section. But if you see what exactly what exactly this particular method is doing. So it is trying to do the reverse order. Okay, the index of it is trying to do the from 0, I value 0, the index of method. Now it is trying to, it will try to repeat the value from this particular 0, but this particular last index of the same I value we are having, but it will try to do the from this particular 5. So size we are having 6. So 6 minus 1, something like 5 we are having. Now what you are understanding, it is trying to providing the reverse order. Okay, it is trying to providing reverse order here. So this is only the important section we need to understand here. Now, but everything is same. Now, even though if it is trying to do the reverse order, internally we are trying to checking the same object. If the object is matching, now it is trying to return here. If the object is matching, it is trying to return this particular value. So anyway, now we are getting the same value called 4 here. The particular index we are getting as a 4 only. Okay, so this is what we need to understand, the differences between index of and last index of method here. Any questions regarding this particular index of and last index of methods? Okay, now if we don't have anything, so now what I'm trying to provide the another important method. Now we discuss about the remove method and index of and last index of. Now here we are having one more important method called list iterator. So list iterator, basically what exactly it will provide the information. It is similar to this particular iterator, but only the important section what you need to understand here, list iterator is having previous elements and next elements, like a previous value, next value. So this is the way it will perform this particular operations here. Now we'll observe what exactly this particular values are going to be implemented internally. Now if I'm going to show you the array list dot list iterator. Array list dot list iterator we are having it. Now here So index of, last index of we identified here. Now we are reaching into the list iterator. Now here you can see what we are doing is we are trying to providing, this is the important section called new list ITR. Now what we are doing basically here, we are trying to create a one object of this particular list iterator. Like now what we are identified in the previous example, we created new ITR object. New ITR object for this particular iterator method. But currently, because of this particular list iterator, now what is the object we are trying to create here? Now something like a list ITR. So something like a list ITR we are trying to create. So this is what we need to understand the differences between these two. But what exactly the list ITR and ITR is going to have differences here. Now here, so if you observe carefully, whenever I'm calling this particular constructor, now what is doing internally? Now here I want to print this. Now what exactly here it is doing this particular concept here. Now here, whenever I'm calling this particular constructor, here we are providing the index. So currently the index value we provided as a 0, so which is coming from this particular constructor calling location, and we are having cursor here, and cursor we are having. So we'll see what are the methods we are having. Now here you can see has previous we are having, has next we are having, and previous index we are having, and previous value, and set method, and next also. Okay, so it is going to have few more methods compared to this particular iterator here. Now observe carefully how this particular list iterator is internally implemented here. Now, so this is the list iterator method we are having here. Now we need to understand the what are the methods we are having currently. String like a string list iterator, we are having add method. Now has next method, and next method we are having, and remove method we are having, and here, so has previous, as next, and previous index. So these are the methods we are having here. Okay, so these are the methods we are having. Now we need to understand the how each and every method is implemented internally. First, we'll discuss about this particular add method. Now, so this is something like a list ITR I'm trying to providing add method here. Now whenever I'm trying to providing this particular list ITR, now I'm going to call the same method now. I'm going to call the same method. Now observe carefully how these particular methods are implemented internally. Okay, so last index of, I'm calling this particular list iterator. Okay, because of this, it is coming here. Now list iterator object we created, and here add method. So now this is the add method I'm calling, but this add method is a specific add method which is available under this particular list iterator. So this add method, it is not coming from this particular collection. Okay, so this is very important, we need to understand here. Now let me go to the inside implementation of this particular add method, how this particular add method is implemented. So check for modification. Now here you can see expected mod count and mod count. Now what we are doing basically here, so this is a very important exception, concurrent modification exception. Basically when this particular exception is going to be thrown here. Whenever you are doing the same, like whenever we are doing the multiple threads with this particular the list iterator objects here, now it will try to get this type of exception, because mod count and expected mod count, we are going to get different values. Currently we are doing the one thread here, because of this we are not getting it. Whenever you are performing with the multiple threads here, so you may get this type of this type of exception here. Okay, now currently it is not going to throw any exception. Now another important method, now coming back to here, the check for modification. Now we are calling this particular cursor value we are having 0. Okay, cursor value we are having 0. Now what we are doing internally, we are calling this particular array list dot this dot add method. Okay, array list dot this dot add method. Now we observe, now what is the index here, I value. Now so when like in the which index location it is going to add, now it is going to add in the first index location, but already we are having this particular first index location. So what is the value we are having in the first index location? Something like if you see, this is the this keyboard. Now if you go to this, already we are having in the 0 index location XYZ. Okay, XYZ we are having already. Now this XYZ, what happens? Now it is going to be replaced with this particular list -itr. Now if you see, so in the 0 index location, the value now it is replaced here. But if you observe carefully, because of this particular index, now what happens internally? It is going to be change the location. Currently, if you observe, this is the values we are having 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so now I'm keeping this 6 also here. Now whenever I'm keeping this particular 6, what you need to understand basically 0 XYZ we are having. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 we are having. Now something like 4, 5, 6, 3, 6, 5, 1, 4, 2, and lastly like something. So if you observe carefully, 0 to 5 we are having, but whenever I'm inserting in the 0 index location, whenever I'm trying to inserting in the 0 index location, now what happens internally? It is going to perform the shift operations here. XYZ will come to the 1, 1, 2, 3 will go to the second. Like these are the shift operations are going to be implemented internally. Okay, so this is very important section we need to understand here whenever we are calling this particular add method here. Okay, whenever we are calling this particular add method here. Now because of this, now all the shift operations are completed. Now in the 0 index location, now we are getting this particular value called list -itr. So this is the important method called add method, which is coming from the list iterator. Now after this, now what I'm doing is, so like last RET again I'm making as a -1. The mod count we are increasing. The mod count basically now it is 5 here. Okay, now it is not going to throw any exception. So this is what we need to understand the add method. Now after this particular add method, so string list iterator, now add method we observe. Now we need to discuss about the next method. So before going to discuss about this particular next method, now what is the method we need to discuss here? Has next, because it should be whether the next element is available or not. First we need to discuss here. First we need to discuss about the whether the next elements are available or not. So how we are going to check it? So using this particular has next here. Now how we can use this particular has next here? Now we can do using this particular while loop here, because has next will return true or false. Now whenever it is trying to return true, now it will go for this particular string list iterator dot next here. Okay, so now I will call this particular next method to print this particular value. So this is the print method. Okay, I'm giving the space so that each value it is going to print. Now here, now one more while loop I'm trying to provide here. Okay, so one more while loop I want to provide here. String like a string list iterator we are having. Now here has previous. And checking has previous. So whenever we are having this particular has previous, now what I'm trying to providing is I'm trying to print this particular previous values here. Okay, so these are the previous values. So this is the main advantage we are going to get from this particular list iterator. Now this previous section we don't have, this particular previous section we don't have under this particular iterator. Only these information are having under this particular list iterator here, the previous value and next value here. Okay, let me run this example in the debug mode. We'll try to identify how this particular has previous and previous, has next and next values are implemented internally. So index of, last index of, iterator, the list iterator we are checking. Now add method we discuss here. Now I'm going to call this particular has next here. Now here you can see has next we are calling cursor. So what is the cursor currently we are having? 1 here. Now what about this particular size here? So size we are having 6 here. Okay, size we are having 6 here. So because of this, now what happens internally? It is trying to return as a true. Okay, it is trying to return as this particular true, so that it will try to return, it will go for the next method. Now next method, check for condition. So check for condition, basically it will have it will not going to throw any exception. Now I greater than the size. Now element data, again we are checking the length. Now finally cursor we are trying to return here. I value 1 in the first index location, whatever the value we are having, we are returning. Okay, now if you see, all the values are printing. Now I'm moving into the has previous. So cursor 7 we are having. Okay, cursor not equals to 0. It is satisfied. Now I'm going for the previous value. So if you see, check for condition. Now the condition is not going to throw any exception. So what is I value? 6 here. Okay. Now whenever I value 6 here, what happening internally? I'm trying to repeat the previous elements here. Now I value 6. In the fifth index location, whatever the value we are having, the particular value we are going to get here. Now if you see, up to this ABC, as next it is written, and from ABC to this, it is trying to return by the this particular method called has previous method. Okay, so using the list iterator, we can go for the next value as well as previous value. These are the important method we are having under this particular array list here. Okay, now so only the main concepts are pending. Sublist. So sublist we can easily understand here what exactly this sublist is going to do from index and to index. So to understand this particular sublist here, now what I'm doing here I'm going to provide the array list dot sublist here. Now here provide the 0 comma something like a 4. Now whenever I'm providing 0 comma 4, what it will do, it will try to create a new array list object and it will try to print here. Okay, so this is what we need to understand here regarding this particular sublist here. Sublist is nothing but it is going to copy the value based on the whatever the range we provided. Now you can see sublist we are having. Now here we are having sublist is a one object. Now this is a nested object, like a inner object we can call it here. Now here you can see it is expecting abstract list and it is implementing from this particular random access here. Okay, so sublist is a one class. It is trying to create object with help of this particular locations here. With help of this particular location. Now size we are having, once the size is called, here it is going to be return this particular all the methods here. All the methods. Now, so it's a simple method. It will try to return the whatever the range we provided. For example, this is the range I given. Now string dot size here. Now I'm trying to print string dot size. Now what is the size it is going to print here? Something like 0 to 4. The 5 it is going to be printed. Okay, 4 it is printing. So it is going to print as a 4. 4 elements we are having under this particular string. It is trying to print 4. Now finally, this is the final object is printing. This is the final object here. This is what we need to understand regarding this particular sublist here. So these are the method we discuss under this particular sublist here, like under the array list here. Now any questions? Any questions regarding this particular array list, like a list interface we discuss here, and the collection related methods also we discuss here. Okay. Now, if we don't have anything, so I'm stopping the session up here. We'll continue tomorrow. One more implementation here. So as of now, the first implementation we identify for this particular list interface, something like array list here. The second implementation we are going to discuss in the tomorrow, something like a linked list here. So what exactly the linked list is going to be implemented, we need to understand here. Okay. So this is what the today's session will continue tomorrow.